A massive thank you to Jero for sponsoring this video on Patreon. Hello all, just wanted to give you a quick warning at the beginning of this video. I made the heinous mistake of starting to record a game at like 12 o'clock at night. And yeah, I was too tired apparently because I made mistake after mistake after mistake in this one. It was a bit of a... well, it was a bit of a mess, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, so hopefully you decide to stick around anyway. But for those of you who are mortally offended by my uploading of videos that go like this, well, don't know what to tell you, stop watching now. Hopefully the rest of you enjoy it, and I will see you all in about 3 seconds. Queza versus Prosper, Obeka and Purphoros. No ramp apart from the ancient tomb. We can... maybe do some bits there. It's really more of a controlling hand. We're not going to draw any additional cards apart from an Arcane Denial. We'll keep it and hope that we get into one of our many wheels. Turn 1 Soul Ring from Prosper. A Demonic Tutor. Do we just go for something boring like Urborg with that? Maybe it's worth going for Rhystic Study and trying to draw some additional cards so that we can actually get into the lands that way instead. Yeah, and that's pretty good because we can go Ancient Tomb into Rhystic Study and still hold up Swords to Plowshares next turn. A Soul Talisman was suspended by Purphoros apparently, so that has 2 time counters on it. Throwing out Purphoros Jr. Impact Tremors. So Prosper Tonebound into play thanks to that fast mana. I think our next turn cycle is Rhystic Study and Swords onto Prosper, try and slow them down. Of course they exile Mana Crypt off the top. So definitely want to be slowing them down. They'll likely just replay their commander straight out again is the problem. There is one of the wheels. It's an expensive one unfortunately. We know what we're doing this turn though. Skull Clamp from Purphoros with nothing to equip, which is curious. Paying for the tax as well, which sends them even further away from equipping with Skull Clamp. Typically speaking, you only want to play this when you can equip it on the same turn and actually draw something. Looks like they're just leaving it out there though. Obeka just potentially holding up counter magic here, unfortunately. Prosper obviously is going to cast the Mana Crypt here. We'll see if they tap into the Rhystic Study. If they don't have a land to play, they don't pay into Rhystic Study, we get another tutor. Yeah, might still be worth going for that Urborg. If we leave Prosper in play to go off here, do they just look like the biggest threat and have their stuff countered and have removal pointed at them? I think it might be a worthy plan there, especially while they've still got 7 cards in hand. Alright, so Prosper swinging in at us, it's only 1 damage. I'm half tempted to punish them for doing that, but we'll let it through. So that is followed by Light Up the Stage, should have blown up the commander apparently. Drawing another card from Rhystic Study though. That gets us into a wheel, that's excellent, so I just need to actually start making mana at some time this century. They can still recast their commander, so yeah, waiting for them to do some more stuff. They get both Zorn and Magda off the top there. Inspiring Statuary is going to give things Improvise. Drawing our 3rd card from the Rhystic Study, and alright, getting to some mana there, we just still need another land. There we see a Zorn. Alright, and that gets us into the land, so we can go Gilded Lotus into something next turn if we want to. So they tap out into the Magda, getting really far ahead here, and that is a Sphinx's Revelation. Yeah, I'm guessing Obeka doesn't have any counter magic here because they really should have been countering some of that, so that reveals that to us at least. Yeah, I think I actually exile the Magda here. Got another spell to cast with these treasures, and that is a Dolphy Voidwalker. So we draw once again, getting into a Soul Ring. Turns out that was a really good tutor for us. Let's point removal at the Magda. Magda successfully being exiled, so don't have to worry about her for the rest of the game. And then Prosper exiling at the end of the turn. And that's just a land, so nothing too worrisome. Definitely could have kept them from doing a lot of that there. If we'd just gone for Swords to Plowshares onto their commander, they would have tapped out and just got their commander out again, not got anywhere near as much stuff going there. But like I said, if we can have our opponents concentrate over here instead of what we're doing, then that'd be excellent. We end up drawing into the Urborg anyway. Yeah, we can just get down Reflecting Pool there, I think. We'll try the Soul Ring because I want to ramp ahead here, try and catch up with the Treasures player. Try and get down the Gilded Lotus. The Obeka better not counter anything we do here after watching all that happen from the Rakdos player. They're holding up priority, really. Are you seriously going to counter? Wow. Right, okay. I was sure that they didn't have any counter magic there, so there is a mana drain. They paid into the tax as well. We cannot afford Arcane Denial, unfortunately, so I think we're just holding up Vamp Tutor here. Discard ourselves a Labman, we're nowhere near that. And we'll get rid of the Veto as well. We've got plenty of other means of doing stuff with Veto type effects. There's a few more creatures that do that. And Labman isn't typically a win that we're necessarily going to go for. It's just something where if we accidentally deck ourselves, then we've got Labman as insurance. Those do get exiled, by the way, thanks to the Voidwalker, of course. Soul Talisman now being cast by Purphoros gets us into Teferi's Ageless Insight. Purphoros, God of the Forge. Mana drain triggering during Obeka's turn. They're going to get 5 additional mana. So casting Obeka, Brute Chronologist, and they pay the tax on the study. Okay, and amazingly, not using the remaining 3 floating mana from the mana drain. Yeah, so I'm really curious as to why they didn't counter any of the stuff going on over here. Need to bear in mind that the Rakdos player has access to a mana drain now. Well, everyone worried about us apparently, so swinging in everything towards us. Going to take a big chunk of damage. They're not holding up the mana drain from this though, which perhaps they should have done. Stolen strategy. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. You can play them. Before Prosper gets anything out of exile, we'll go for the Vamp Tutor now. I think it's just going to be some fast mana so that we can do a couple of things during our turn. And it is a Burgi that they've revealed. Probably Harmfell Horn of Bounty is the thing they're after there, really. So we draw into the Mana Crypt, play that straight away. Throw down the Urborg as well. And we'll attempt our commander. And then we could go for the Windfall here, but I'd rather try and get down to Fairy's Ageless Insight. Before then, that might be greedy. But we do have Arcane Denial, so there's every chance we can keep our commander in play. We'll leave it at that. Be doing a lot better on the coloured mana front if we had the Gilded Lotus. Could be holding up cards like Commit, get them into the bin. Actually could have gone for Teferi's Ageless Insight in that turn if we had the Gilded Lotus. So it was a good mana drain from our opponent as far as what we are doing is concerned. Now we see a Starstorm from the Purphoros player trying to wipe the board. I'd love to let that happen, but I don't want to lose the Quasar. We can just replay the Quasar next turn and protect our artifacts if someone goes for wiping those. Yeah, we'll point the drain at Obeka. I think I might actually let that happen, because I think it hurts our opponents more than it hurts us. Also suggest to my opponents that I don't have any counter magic as well. Obeka managing to make a land and now going for a Grim Tutor. Noteworthy that they want to hold up a mana, because they are letting us draw with the Rhystic Study here. And we get into a Swan Song, so I wonder if that's what Obeka is going for. Actually running low on blue mana here. Well, they tap out, so showing us that they don't have any Spell Pierce or Swan Song or anything like that. Exiling some lands off the top. Don't know if they took anything. Oh, that was an Exquisite Blood they chose there from us. We'll wait for them to pay into the Rhystic Study. That is a Thran Dynamo. Plenty of colourless mana here, but not doing too well on the colours. We'll go for Arcane Denial here, try and draw into a land and slow down the Prosper player. Don't think they'll be able to get out their commander this turn. Oh, actually, they do have Inspiring Statuary, don't they? So they might be able to. So adding commander tax on there, either way. So casting the Burgi as opposed to the Horn of Bounty. Drawn into a Reanimate, by the way, which isn't useful yet, but I'm assuming that we're not going to be able to keep our commander in play, so that's why the Reanimate's in here, as well as using it on decent opponent stuff, of course. Playing the Exquisite Blood from exile there. And they've drawn us plenty of cards. That's a Triskaidekaphile. Look at all the lands we're not getting into here. So a couple of cards drawn from the Rakdos player. We will draw one as well. Still haven't drawn into a land. That is an Ominous Seas. Okay, that gets us some more blue mana. So now, I'm wondering if it's worth us going for Triskaidekaphile and putting mana into Sphinx's Revelation, maybe? Well, let's ramp first and see what we can put into X. So play out the Thran Dynamo and the Azorius Signet. And then we can tap that into Triskaidekaphile, and then we're holding up Swan Song. But if we Swan Song, we can't go for the Sphinx's Revelation. So yeah, we'll leave Triskaidekaphile for a little bit here. Let's just try on our commander again. And Exquisite Blood will trigger there because of the Ancient Tomb. Don't suppose I needed to take life to that actually. But we don't know what we're going to draw into over the next turn cycle. Have to get rid of multiple cards here, so it can be Echo Vions for obvious reasons, the Ominous Seas, and I don't mind this as a 4-mana counterspell in all honesty. Yeah, Void Rend isn't a particularly good thing to get rid of, but we've got counter magic we're trying to rely on. Let's just risk getting rid of a Void Rend. We're not holding it up anyway. A Brash Taunter, there's plenty of combos you can do with that one. Noteworthy that there is a Ghost Quarter here as well. They pay into our tax. And each of us will get bolted, 2 from the Purphoros, 1 from the Impact Tremors. And that will gain the Rakdos player a bunch of life because 2 of his opponents have lost life there. So they go back up to 43. A Hive Mind. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery, each other player copies it. That's not good for our Swan Song, or well, it is good for our wheels actually. Are they forced to copy? Yeah, I'm actually going to let that in play. That will potentially go absolutely nuts with our wheels, that Hive Mind, because they are forced to copy them. Point the drain at Prosper. We've drawn into a Thought Vessel here as well, by the way. So now we'll see if any instants or sorceries get exiled with the Stolen Strategy. That is Goblin Rabble Master, Hellkite Courser, and a Wayfarer's Bauble. We draw into Narset. I don't think the Prosper players paid for a single Rhystic Study this game, and I'm not entirely sure how many lands we would have actually drawn if it wasn't for them. Anyway, the Hellkite Courser going to trigger Bergi. This one belongs to Obeka, by the way. As you probably work out, they can end the turn before they have to put their commander back. So Prosper comes back in. It will go back into the command zone at the end of the turn. Going for Wayfarer's Bauble, that's ours I think. We draw a Bojuka Bog, playing the Goblin Rabble Master, so I'm guessing they don't really like what's in their hand, or they're just trying to make treasures here. Making use of that mana from the Bergi either way. We've drawn a Dovin's Veto now, which we can cast thanks to holding up that mana before and tapping down the Ancient Tomb. Seeing the Shinka land come into play as well. Don't think that's relevant as the board stands. And that's a Gonti, Lord of Luxury. Gets us finally into a relevant land. So if our opponents are tapped out here, it might be that we can just go Narset, have them discard their hands. The problem is, it's going to be multiple wheels on top of multiple wheels, so we might deck ourselves if we're not careful. They cast a Muldrifter. Alright, here we're getting into the lands finally. I don't think it's been, not to patronise my opponents, but I don't think it's been a particularly high-powered game, so yeah, I don't really like the idea of going for Narset one-sided wheels. It's a bit of a dick move, so I think something more fun would be something like Triskaidekaphile or something like that. Muldrifter being evoked, so going back into Obeka's graveyard. Guessing that came off the Gonti. Prosper saying that he can't use his Improvise card for cards that he doesn't own. So this is broken apparently. Yeah, and that totally goes against the whole purpose of Prosper. So maybe don't run this on Magic Online if our opponent is right in what he's saying. A conspiracy theorist now, getting into a bulk of lands. So like I said, the correct move here is to go for Narset Parter of Veils while our opponents are what we think are shields down. Maybe get out Ageless Insight and then go for a wheel. We'll get multiple wheels on the stack thanks to this enchantment. And yeah, then it's that's when you start to regret exiling the Laboratory Maniac previously. But I didn't think we'd crawl out from underneath the Prosper in all honesty. Goblin Rabble Master triggers at the beginning of combat. So these 3 turning in sideways towards the Obeka player. So that is 5 damage to them. They lose life, so Exquisite Blood triggers and gains them 5. And then the Dragon will trigger and send their commander back to the command zone. Still getting the Exile trigger though, they reveal a mountain. Yeah, we really are hitting all the lands now. Let's get a white and blue source. We want as much blue as possible. Then we definitely want Thought Vessel out because we're going to have a lot of cards in hand if we've got anything to say about it. They're not going for the correct play in Narset, like I said. I don't want to be too cutthroat against more casual decks by the looks of it. So we'll play the Triskaidekaphile. God, if we had enough blue mana, I really want to go for Teferi's Ageless Insight and then hold up the Swan Song, but then Swan Song isn't... I mean, Counter Magic isn't really as useful with a Hive Mind in play anyway. Do we just go for the Windfall here? We've got 12 cards in hand, so that means it's 48 cards drawn. That means we've every chance of getting into the discard outlet. Yeah, a better idea is probably just Echo Vion, so we definitely don't deck ourselves here. So if that's what we're doing, I'm actually going to reanimate the Dorothy Voidwalker. Then we might have access to some stuff that our opponent exiles. Reanimate's going to go around the table here, I actually forgot about that. So they can... yeah, that was actually... Yeah, that was a bad move. Yeah, the reanimate from our opponents is going to resolve before ours. Yeah, that was a silly mistake. So it looks like the Purphoros is going after the Voidwalker as well. Right, so the Purphoros went after Muldrifter, or Becca's going after Muldrifter. Yeah, the Prosper is unfortunately getting their Voidwalker back thanks to my bad play there. So it is Muldrifter coming into play under the Prosper. Oh, and I think Magic Online's being weird with the way it's showing us targets. I thought other players had targeted the Dorothy Voidwalker, I'm sure it did. Well, anyway, we end up getting it, so our opponents must have all been pointed at Muldrifter or something, because these two players don't get anything. Let's go for the Echo Vions. Hive Mind triggering, everyone is going to get Echo Vions here. So that is 4 Echo Vions on the stack. So we drew 7 cards there. Going to point it all at the Prosper player. And then we don't have any instants there, so just let the next Echo Vions resolve. Do get into a Dovin's Veto there, but nothing else really. I suppose what I should have done actually... No, that's annoying. This actually, believe it or not, after about 5 games, this is the first time I've actually got to do anything with Queza. What I should have done is gone for Windfall, and then we wouldn't have decked ourselves, and then I could have gone for Echo Vions after that. We're actually not getting into any wheels here, annoyingly. Not a particularly good hand there. Could go for Atawara, maybe bounce the Stolen Strategy, but not going to bother here. Okay, and we've got Mana Drain, so that's just going to give everyone mana. Give everyone a tutor with Demonic Tutor. Give everyone a Swords to Plowshares with Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, that's... yeah, I really thought that we were going to get into more wheels there, but we've actually not, amazingly. So I think we just have to let our opponents tutor here, unfortunately. Triggers on the Hive Mind. Do we just go for a Time Spiral here and allow our opponents to untap their lands? We're going for crazy turns here anyway, aren't we, as opposed to that Narset play, so let's go for it. We're actually going to allow our opponents to untap lands before we do. And it will be the Prosper player that untaps first. Alright, I was hoping for some free counter magic there. I actually don't have the mana for the Swan Song, unfortunately. So if they've got spot removal there, they can get rid of the Quasar. Knocking them down to 5 though, so maybe we get rid of them here. Okay, casting Dark Ritual into the Rhystic Study. We all get a Dark Ritual here with this. Nothing I can do with the black mana as of now though. Wow. And yeah, they scoop with that Dark Ritual on the stack. This player has been... I haven't really been reading properly, but I think they've been whining in the comments. So we'll just scroll through that and you can all have a read if you want to. Oh, the Dark Ritual did still go on the stack, awesome. So we still each get our 3 black mana. I think it let us draw a card from the Rhystic Study there because they weren't able to pay for it because they've left, so not sure if that's how it should work, but that's what happened. It's Obeka's turn to untap now. Well, there's no instance that we can make use of the black mana with here either. Going to point most of this at the red player so that the Grixis player might be more likely to leave us alone. They probably shouldn't. Now we're going to draw another hand, and the red player can untap. Okay, and Baleful Mastery, yeah, it was only a matter of time. So Baleful Mastery going onto the Quasar, going to exile that. We all get further exile though, so it looks like we're going to lose our Triskaidekaphile, unfortunately. So we'll exile the Brash Taunter. Gonna put it back in the command zone. I don't see it being very likely that we'll get into the reanimate when we actually get to keep our hand. And of course that's when we get into the Fierce Guardianship. And there we go, get into a Time Twister. We've got back into the Demonic Tutor as well. So we're just going for our commander again, I think. We can go for Dovin's Veto, and we're not particularly bothered about Hive Mind on that. If we counter a non-creature spell, they can't use the multiple Dovin's Vetoes to counter our Dovin's Veto, so yeah, we will be able to make it through another turn cycle by some miracle, I think. Noteworthy that our opponent's Demonic Tutors were largely pointless. They didn't get into any free spells, apparently, before we managed to wheel everything around. So partly wishing I'd just gone for the whole Narset thing and just gotten closer to finishing the game, because, yeah, that felt like a whole lot of durdling around for not a lot of result. Godo Bandit Warlord. And Godo going for the combo there in Helm of the Host. Thankfully not seeing any haste. A Meteor Golem, alright. That's not a non-creature spell, so they can actually get rid of our commander there, and that's where I'm guessing it's going. Argument to be made for going after the Godo or the combo piece there. We'll see what they target. I mean, if they get rid of our commander, it at least clears the way for a Path to Exile. Alright, yeah, targeting the Godo, that's fair enough. Like I said before, for all the screwing around I did before, it didn't really amount to much. We do now have a discard outlet, which is useful with Triskaidekaphile, but that's been exiled, unfortunately. Okay, Fierce Guardianship, we're not going to be keeping it because we're going to be doing plenty of wheels this turn, but yeah, it's potentially useful to have if our opponents have some kind of free spell that they might be about to get into, thanks to a Demonic Tutor. We're tapped out at the moment, so it will have to be free. Go for Demonic Tutor again. So each of our opponent getting the Tutor, of course. Our opponent's done now, and I will do what I wanted to do before, just didn't have enough blue mana to do it. Going for Teferi's Ageless Insight, and this will double the number of cards we draw. Yeah, we just didn't have enough blue mana before, unfortunately. I wanted to go Triskaidekaphile into this and Sphinx's Revelation, but yeah, it just wasn't happening mana-wise before. So we'll get down the Ageless Insight, play a Command Tower for some more coloured mana, and then we're in for Time Twister yet again. Luckily this one shuffles each time. That's what's so broken about it, it doesn't exile itself, so we have every means of tutoring it up and drawing into it over and over again to do stuff like this. So now we're drawing 14 cards instead of 7, so this should make short work of our opponents, hopefully. Spotted a Frantic Search there as well, so we can actually net some mana thanks to the Ancient Tomb as well. So we will add a Frantic Search to the stack there. Keep seeing this Lich's Mastery, haven't been able to get that down unfortunately. Oh my god, and I keep playing into it. I keep forgetting stupidly about the Hive Mind, so we're actually going to let our opponents untap here. Do it. A Lightning Greaves and a High Market discarded by Obeka. And then Cathartic Reunion, Dormant Volcano. And that's why you don't want to have your opponents untap when you've just drawn them a bunch of cards. Yeah, really bad play, yet another one with the Frantic Search. So Shatter going to get rid of a bunch of our artifacts here. First Thran Dynamo. I will point mine at their Skull Clamp. Actually should have pointed it at the Helm of the Host, shouldn't I, because I don't think card draw is much of a concern to them. Two of the Shatters are going at Thran Dynamo, curiously. This is assuming that Magic Online isn't goofing up with the targeting. I haven't floated mana for the Mana Crypt, so I do hope that the Mana Crypt doesn't go down here. We draw a couple from Rhystic Study, putting more triggers on the stack. And then yeah, there's no legal target for this Shatter thanks to the Thran Dynamo going down. So now we get our Frantic Search. We draw 4 more cards, and we've got a Sphinx's Rev there. Alright, so I managed to get Obeka down to 0 there. Ichigo, a friend of the channel, so a massive thank you to Ichigo for sticking that one out and playing with us. The Purphoros player's been a good sport as well. So drawing to 14 again. There is an Alhamrit's Archive that we're not going to get a chance to play, unfortunately. We do have Notion Thief there. Is it just a clever idea to finally go for that like I should have done a while ago? So Notion Thief on the stack. We're going to draw another 14 here. And our opponent's going to draw nothing. The client really struggling here. We don't get back into the free counter magic, unfortunately, so our opponent has half a chance. We are totally tapped out. And the client crashed anyway. Yeah, that's a real shame. That can happen when you just put too many things on the stack and then auto-yield to them. I should know better than that. That pretty much sums up this game, doesn't it? An absolute clusterfuck. So, apologies for all the misplays and goofiness. I was trying to be kind to my opponents and not just absolute windmill slam down one-sided wheels and have them discard their hands and all that. In doing so, I actually dragged out the game way longer than I should have done and made them sit through it all. So, yeah, apologies to you, apologies to them as well. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, so I think I need to go and get some sleep as opposed to playing more games and making mistakes left, right and centre. Hopefully you all derive some enjoyment from this anyway. Please consider donating on Patreon if you did. Massive thank you to those of you that support already, it's very much appreciated. I'm Tribalkai. Thank you for watching.